Lyth and Cola Cadmore helped Yorkshire tick over on the opening day against Essex. Gary Balance continued his excellent early season form as he scored his 5th century in his last 5 matches in a hard-fought draw with Hampshire last time out. They faced an Essex side buoyed by their win against Kent thanks largely to the batting of Sir Alistair Cook and the bowling of Simon Harmer, who claimed 8 wickets in the final innings. The home team won the toss and elected to bat, and after a patient start from both Adam Lyth and Will Frayne, the first boundary finally arrived in the 6th over. Both men struck the bad ball to the fence in the ensuing overs, and after 12, Yorkshire were 50 without loss. Peter Siddle was introduced into the attack, but found himself on the receiving end, both Frayne and Lyth combining to take 13 off his 2nd over. Further boundaries came off the ensuing overs from the Australian, but finally in the 23rd, Essex made the breakthrough, Sam Cook bowling Frayne for 39. Balance came to the crease, fresh off the back of his latest ton, looking to see the home team through to lunch. He started well with a pair of boundaries off Cook, but in the penultimate over before the interval, he fell run out by Cook for 14, and so at lunch Yorkshire were 98 for 2. Tom Cola Cadmore was the new man in just before the interval. He started to build a decent partnership with the well-established Lyth. It took little time for the side to move past 100 and for Lyth to move to 50. The runs continued to tick over throughout the afternoon. One highlight, a slog sweep for 6 from Lyth as Yorkshire moved past 150. Cola Cadmore wasn't to be left out of the action though. He accrued runs in measured style throughout the session. He struck 8 fours as he moved past 50 for the 2nd successive innings, and just before tea the pair brought up the 100 partnership. At the break, Yorkshire had added 110 runs in the session for no loss. The score 207 for 2. After the break, Lyth moved seamlessly on towards what looked like it would be an inevitable century. However, he was to come up just short, the faintest of edges off Porter, leaving him 5 runs shy of 3 figures. 224 for 3 was soon 229 for 4 as Leaning Fell caught Harmer off Siddle for 3. Cola Cadmore was the next to be out, as all of the home team's excellent work in the first 2 sessions looked like it was going to be undone. Yorkshire's number 4 caught behind off Sam Cook for 83. 5 became 6 down as David Willey was trapped LBW by Harmer for 3. 252 for 6 was the score, with Tattersall and Bess the men in, and they needed to see things through to the close. They managed to do so in spite of the new ball being taken by Essex with 6 overs left in the day. Score at the close, 289 for 6, with Bess unbeaten on 30, Tattersall on 20. Bess just misses out on maiden century as rain dominates day 2 in Leeds. Inclement weather threatened on day 2 in Leeds as Yorkshire looked to pick up on 289 for 6, the home team in a good position after fine knocks from both Adam Lyth and Tom Cola Cadmore. Sam Cook bowled well as Essex came back in the final session, but a decent partnership between Tattersall and Bess at the end of the day helped push Yorkshire towards their 3rd batting point. They quickly chalked up that marker when Bess flashed a boundary wide of the slips off Porter, and it wasn't long afterwards that Bess moved to a maiden 50 for Yorkshire, his knock coming off 83 balls and including 9 boundaries. At the 110 over mark, Yorkshire were 325 for 6, meaning they took 3 batting points, Essex a pair of bowling points for their efforts. The stand moved to 90, but that's where it ended, Tattersall falling for 45, nicking off to Ravi Bopara. Bess and Patterson motored on, and the home side started to close in on 400, but Patterson fell for 8, trapped LBW by Porter, and just 4 overs later, Code was back in the pavilion as he was caught by Alistair Cook, again off Porter, for just 1. Bess moved into the 90s, closing in on a maiden first-class century, but in the end he ran out of partners as Olivier was caught by Harmer off Cook for 1, closing the Yorkshire innings on 390 all out. In the end, Porter and Sam Cook the pick of the bowlers with 3 wickets apiece. Lunch was taken and they returned for the Essex innings, Yorkshire getting the breakthrough almost immediately as Alistair Cook was caught by Cola Cadmore off Code for 2. Brown and Wesley saw off the next few overs and started to rebuild, but with the score on 18 for 1 the heavens opened, and in the end there was no more play possible in the day. Essex trail then by 372 runs with 9 wickets remaining at the halfway point. Yorkshire frustrated by Westley as match stumbles towards a draw. Rain had played its part on day 2 at Leeds, meaning that Essex had only managed to get to 18 for 1 when no further play was possible. Bess had missed out on a century courtesy of running out of partners, but Yorkshire still reached the halfway point in the driving seat. Code and Olivier opened up the bowling with a testing spell on day 3, and there was a delay in the 14th over when Olivier hit Westley on the helmet with a bouncer. Brown and Westley weathered the storm, however, moving to 50, before Westley pulled Willie to the boundary on the bowler's opening delivery of the day. Bess was brought into the attack and was smashed for 6 by Westley as the pair moved to their 50 partnership. Then Westley brought up his first 50 of the season. Essex pushed towards 100, but on 97 Yorkshire made the breakthrough as Brown was trapped LBW by Bess for 35. Lunch arrived just a few balls later, Essex 115 for 2 at the break. Westley unbeaten on 68, Essex still 275 behind Yorkshire's first innings total, and Westley picked up where he'd left off before the interval. However, with his score on 77, Westley nicked off to Willie Tattersall with the catch as Essex fell to 132 for 3. Bopara came to the crease and he settled quickly, hitting 8 boundaries in a score of 38. Whilst the former England man was making hay, his partners were in all sorts of trouble. Lawrence fell to a good catch at mid-wicket from Frayne off Olivier for 21, and 190 for 4 was soon 191 for 5, as skipper Tenduscarter nicked to Lyth at first slip off Bess. Bopara tried to keep momentum on the scoreboard, but was out on 44, dragging Olivier onto his stumps, reducing the visitors to 191 for 6. That brought about tea, Essex's collapse, leaving them in a precarious situation ahead of the final session. Yorkshire bowled 9 successive maidens either side of the interval, a run that was finally broken when Harmer hit Bess for 4. Yorkshire reapplied the pressure though, and with just a handful of runs added to the score, Willie grabbed the 7th wicket of the innings. Buttleman caught behind for a duck. Harmer was joined by Siddle, and they pushed the score past 200. Harmer struck Bess for another boundary, but the very next ball he edged to Lyth at slip, Bess with his 3rd of the innings. The players returned and Essex could only survive a couple of overs before Porter was caught by Kohler Cadmore off Patterson for a duck, leaving Siddle and Code together for the final wicket. Siddle went on the offensive, striking 4 and a 6 off Patterson. That was enough to avoid the follow-on, but Siddle showed no signs of slowing up, dispatching Code for another 6 with just 3 overs to go in the day. Sam Cook blocked out the final over, Essex closing on 252 for 9. They trailed by 138 runs with just the one first innings wicket left, heading into the final day. Last wicket pair make hay for Essex before game peters out to draw. Yorkshire were left frustrated as a determined Essex rearguard action led by Tom Westley got them beyond the follow-on target on day 3. Essex would resume 9 wickets down and still 138 runs behind, but the draw the overwhelming favourite going into the final day's play. Yorkshire would have wanted to polish off the Essex innings quickly in the hopes of setting a target, but Siddle and Cook held firm to frustrate the hosts. Siddle brought up his half-century with a lovely drive through the covers for 4 off Code, with the 50 partnership coming up in the next over as Cook found the boundary with an on-drive. Essex would have been eyeing up a 3rd batting point as Cook went on the attack, clipping Code through mid-wicket for 4 before pulling him over square leg for a maximum off the next ball. Essex did pass 300, but not in time to claim another batting point. But Cook consoled himself by sending Patterson to the rope for another 4. All that before the innings was finally brought to a close when Patterson trapped Siddle LBW, ending a brilliant partnership of 86 for the final wicket. That meant Yorkshire would take a lead of 81 from the first innings, but with time very much running out for them to force a positive result. They didn't seem inclined to get on with it either, as they'd only scored 1 run in the first 3 overs when Will Frayne edged Porter low to Alistair Cook at slip. Lyth and Balance replied with a pair of boundaries each over the course of the next few overs as Yorkshire reached 19 for 1 by the time lunch arrived. The hosts would pick up with a lead of 100 in the afternoon session, but barring a catastrophic collapse, the match was heading for a draw. Both batsmen made a steady start to the session as they both stroked early boundaries, with Balance finding the rope 3 times in quick succession, before Lyth pounced on a short ball from Harmer to deposit him in the stands. The pair were looking very comfortable as they continued to put away any bad balls to the boundary. Lyth sent Cook to the rope from consecutive deliveries to move into the 40s and beat Balance in the race to 50 as the part-time bowlers came on for Essex. Balance joined Lyth on 50 not long before tea as Yorkshire passed 100. The break came with Yorkshire leading by 188, but the rain came during the interval, and with the game heading resolutely for the draw, the captains decided to shake hands soon afterwards. That meant Yorkshire take 11 points forward from the draw. Essex advance with 9.